Okay, this is my recording for prompt A. So there's the scenario of studying fruit flies, and if I were to explain the what's happening there, I think the prompt says that you observe that certain traits like eye color and wing shape tend to be inherited together. So I would identify this as linked genes. So linked genes just means that two genes are very close together on the same chromosome, so they tend to be inherited together. So I think that fits that observation perfectly. And then later on, it says, however, you notice that sometimes these traits don't always stay together. So this would be Mendel's law of independent assortment, where genes are inherited independently of each other. So different traits are usually passed from parents to their offspring independently. So it's going to be like a unique trait, right? So I think those two things fit perfectly there. So gene linkage does not completely disprove Mendel's law because crossing over during meiosis can separate the linked genes, so it doesn't completely disprove Mendel's law. And if I were to give a real world example, and so there's color blindness. I personally have red and green color blindness. So I learned that can be caused by genes on the X chromosome. And because they are located on the same chromosome, they can be sometimes inherited together, but also crossing over can separate them. And for my teaching strategy, I would use a card sorting game. So I would just get two long strips of paper that represents the chromosomes and kind of these colorful cards that represent genes. So kind of like I have a picture here, kind of like what we see in the textbook. So you got this long strip. So I would use just a long strip of paper and cards to represent these genes. And the cards will be swappable, right? So to use this with students, I would first introduce what the Mendel's law of independent assortment is. But obviously, interaction is much more efficient in learning. But yeah, so students can begin with chromosomes that contain genes that are on different chromosomes. So that's going to represent Mendel's law, so they can learn that way. And then I would introduce them to gene linkage, so students can receive a chromosome, a strip of paper where two genes, two cards are located very close together. That way they can learn what gene linkage is. And then I would also demonstrate crossing over, so the students can like exchange matching sections on the paper, and then that can create like new combinations, and the students can see that crossing over can break the gene linkage. So that's basically how I would teach it. Yeah.